my name is Niki. I was born in Iran, and as a child I used to have a reoccurring dream that I was in a big department store and there was a bomb that was going to go off. And I would try to run to the elevators, but my legs, as if I was in slow motion, they would not go quickly. And strangely, this was the picture of what was going on in my life, because Iran was about to go through that whole revolution. And my father had said that I will not let a 15-year-old leave the country. So he had also taught me that if you have a need, you pray and you do the Muslim prayer, because that's all we knew. And at the end of the prayer is what's important, when you talk heart to God. So I remember I did the Muslim prayer, and at the end of the prayer I sat on my knees and I said, God, if you let me go to the US, I'll give you my life. And surprisingly, a week after, my dad had changed his mind. And a short 1 month after that, I was in the US in a boarding school. I remember it was the following summer that a girl that was in our dorm sat a bunch of the girls down and said, do you know why I live a different life? She had a really clean and a good life. And she said, do you see how I'm different than others? It's because Jesus is in my heart. And she said that he shed his life on the cross and washed away all your sins. And if you accept him into your heart, you can go to heaven. But if you don't, then your sins won't wash away and you can't go. And I thought, well, if she's not telling the truth, I'm wasting only 5 minutes. But if she's telling the truth, I better do it. So I prayed with her, forgot all about it, fell in love, got married 2-3 years later. And I didn't know that my husband had said to himself, because he had 2 grandmas. One was a godly grandma with a great life, and the other one wasn't so godly. So he had decided that when I have a family, I'm going to live like this grandma. So I found my husband getting alone and praying. And I had just gotten away from all of that. And to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I thought, we ran away from all of that and now he's following me. But I couldn't change his mind. So pretty soon I decided I would just pretend that I was a Christian so he'd leave me alone. Well, I would listen to my rock and roll, and when I'd hear his car coming, I would switch it to the Christian station. One day I made an excuse and we didn't go to church. And I remember we were laying down in bed listening to the radio. And a pastor was playing all the same music that I was listening to. And he was playing it backwards. I don't know how it's done, but I think they call it backmasking. So they would play the songs backwards. And there was this sound from hell. And you say, how do you know it was from hell? I don't know, but when you hear it, you know it's from hell. It was an awful, awful voice. And it was surprising because it was all against Christ. At this point, I knew there was God. I don't know how I knew, but there was something pulling me, something inside of me that said there's God. But I didn't know what his name was. I didn't know what was the way to him. And I remember that all of these songs, they were being interviewed, all the different groups, and they said that the songs came to them. They didn't even make it. And as they were saying bad things about Christ, one of them said something really horrible. And I gasped, and I was really offended. And I remember hearing God's voice in my heart, why are you offended? That was the turning point. At that point, I was in both feet, and I never looked back. I had forgotten how I gave my life. Years later, the Lord told me, remember when you sat on your knees and you said that I'll give you my life if you let me go to the US? And he said, you forgot, but I didn't forget. And later he said, remember when you prayed and you gave your life to me? You forgot, but I didn't forget. He's such a faithful God. I remember one year in church they asked, it was around Thanksgiving, and they said, what are you thankful for? And people got up and spoke about what they were thankful for. Well, I could only say one thing. I was grateful and thankful that God of the universe is love. He's not a judgmental God, like the one I knew, that keeps track of everything bad you've ever done, but he's a loving God. It's not surprising that God is love, because love is above all other emotions. Love is what all the wonderful things are made of. And our God is a loving God. And that's the best news.